Oh, this is a big one. It's Famidaily's 8-bit-versary. 256 episodes in, and I haven't missed a day yet. Okay, there are days where I haven't completed an episode, but I make up for that with days where I do 2 episodes. We're also really close to the 1/4 mark of this project. Close enough that I don't even think I'm going to comment on it as I pass that one in a couple episodes' time. And the game for this final outing that could fit on the Famicom's memory bus? It's Esper Boukentai. Perhaps the strangest game on the Famicom. Esper Boukentai is a sequel to the arcade game Psychic 5. Both games feature a squad of 5 heroes, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, fighting their way through household objects that have been animated by Satan. No, seriously, that's the story. In Psychic 5, you start out by selecting which of these characters you want to use. But in Esper Boukentai, you always start out with the same one, and your first real goal in the game is to rescue the other 4. Esper Boukentai plays a lot like a platformer. The B button swings your hammer and the A button makes you jump, but there's a lot of other gameplay elements too. That said, the jumping is the only thing that people talk about with this game. In fact, I found a few people who said that it's the only thing that's interesting in the game. Some of the characters possess an enormously high jump. We're talking a dozen screens high. The areas that you explore in Esper Boukentai are freely scrolling in all 4 directions. They tend to be huge, and you have to have that jump to cover the distance. Your first character is Akio, and while he's supposed to be the average character of the group, he also has the second highest jump. So his platforming abilities are the most convenient usually. You could play 90% of the game as Akio and have it work out just fine. Mako is the second character you're going to find. She's the girl of the group, and really that's the only useful thing about her. She has the highest ability to hover. All the characters can slow their descent by pressing up while they're falling. Now you might think that's good for getting into narrow ledges or slowing their descent, but you can also just swing their hammer, and that stops their falling motion until the animation's complete. And you can go right into the next hammer swing. And you have control over your movement while you do this. So hovering is completely useless in this game. However, some of the monsters are only willing to hand things over to a girl. Yeah. Moving past today's example of bad game design with societal implications, the next character you'll find is Genta, the largest of the group. He has the highest defense and second highest attack, but the weakest jump, which makes him completely unable to get around in most areas. He does have a special ability. Genta can smash through certain walls and floors. They're not marked, but they are definitely required for progress. Now, Yuki is the tall member of the group who dresses in green, so naturally that means he has the highest jump. And I do mean highest. There's effectively no point in these giant areas that he can't reach. Finally, there's the old man Bunzo, who can barely jump, but has the highest attack of the group. If you hit select while you're running around, it'll bring up this screen that has the convenient map. You can also see what your current stats are, as well as change between any one of the members of your team. You can also activate your Esper power, which is this star that flies around you and can deflect things. Honestly, I found it to be just about useless. The status screen also shows you your experience points, because of course this game has RPG elements. And the experience scaling in Esper Boukentai is bad. You start at level 0, and level 1 is 100 points, level 2 is twice that, level 3 is twice that. Strangely appropriate for episode 256. The thing is, leveling up isn't a linear progression. It's not even an exponential progression. Level 5 is not 5 times stronger than level 1. It's 35 times stronger than level 1. And some doors in the game are locked by your level. On top of all that, enemies that give you more than 1 or 2 experience points are relatively rare. So what you'll definitely wind up doing is finding a spot with some enemies who give you decent experience for your level, and then sitting there and beating on them for a while. The power level differential is so absurd, you pretty much have to. You can't grind up as you go. Another thing preventing that is how enemies work in Esper Boukentai. Typically, only one enemy can be around at a time. And I don't mean on screen, I mean around. When you cross certain thresholds, then the enemy changes. And these aren't always obvious, so it results in enemies appearing and disappearing on you as you're going around. Touching an enemy doesn't hurt you, touching their shots does. And not every animated household object that you see is out to get you. You can hit start when you're overlapping one of them to talk to them, and that might get you some information, or you might be able to purchase some assistance. And in some cases, talking to them angers them and causes them to attack you. Keep an eye out for beds. When you talk to them, you could get a password, or you could pay to recover all of your energy. There's money in the game that you'll need to use to purchase these services, but it doesn't drop from enemies. It can only be found in treasure chests. And if you die, you lose half of your current money. So finite amount of cash, and you could easily lose all of it. What I'd recommend is just not touching the chests at all until you've leveled up a few times. You can freely explore the world of Esper Boukentai. The key to getting through rooms are these little statues. You have to touch them to unlock a door, and when you connect with one, you'll hear a chime if you're high enough level or have the correct item to open the door. I remembered wanting to get Esper Boukentai because I really liked that jumping mechanic. And it is really good. The problem is everything else. The weird way you stick to ledges, the way that enemies sometimes get hit and sometimes don't, how everybody just keeps popping into and out of existence, how you have this big team, but hardly any reason to use anyone other than Akio, the way you have to hit a button to go through every line of text in the dialogue, and then sometimes that jumps to a yes and no question on you in the middle. If I had to pick a word to describe Esper Boukentai, it would be half-assed. There's a lot of stuff in here that could have been fun, but hardly anything is implemented well. There's a reason that the only thing anybody remembers about this game is that jumping.